So Mr. Beast is suing Mr. Beast Burger. Or at least he kind of is. That's kind of what the headlines that you've been seeing everywhere probably generally say. Mr. Beast sues to shut down Ghost Kitchen produced Mr. Beast Burger. Mr. Beast sues company behind his fast food chain over inedible burgers. He sues his food delivery partner, yada, yada, yada. It's everywhere. But that's not exactly what's happening. See, Mr. Beast isn't suing Mr. Beast Burgers. He's suing the virtual ghost kitchen company behind it called Virtual Dining Concepts. This may be something that you've heard of, and there you can see the Mr. Beast Burger right there. Don't know if I'd be advertising that at this moment, but this is probably a company that you've heard of. Basically what they do is they introduce optimized ghost kitchens for creators specifically. So if you are a creator, you've got a big audience, and you want to launch a food brand, you would go to this company, Virtual Dining Concepts. And basically what they do, and they specifically work with creators, they've got a creator section right here. You create your vision, you tell them what you want, what kind of food you want to serve. You work with them to create a specific menu of items. In Mr. Beast's case, obviously, it was hamburgers. You market the brand. Basically, they're saying you do all of the marketing to your social media and your audience, and then all you have to do is sit back and make money. Basically, how it works is they develop a menu and a concept and everything around it, along with branding, logos. Then they distribute it out to all of these ghost kitchens that can then sign up to be someone who serves a Mr. Beast burger. So anybody, a restaurant, a large company, your grandpa at his favorite grill, just grilling up burgers, can serve Mr. Beast burgers. You just have to register yourself as a kitchen, sign up to get the food or the food products delivered from a specific provider that they have, whose name I don't know, and you are serving Mr. Beast burgers. Open it up on DoorDash, Grubhub, what Uber Eats, what have you. Anybody can sell Mr. Beast burgers. All you have to do is register. And the person that facilitates that creation between creator and the kitchens is Virtual Dining Concepts, this company right here. That's what they do. They're the middleman between the guy who wants to sell burgers with his brand to his audience and the companies and the kitchens that need to be set up in order to actually do the cooking and delivering of that. Now, in typical Mr. Beast fashion, when he decides to do something, he goes pretty big with it. And this is how he introduced his I opened up a virtual kitchen.
I opened up the world's first free restaurant. And if that wasn't enough, I also paid people to eat at my restaurant.
We haven't even opened yet, and the police just told us they had to shut down a mile of traffic, and there's 1,000 cars in line.
Put it on up.
Yeah! I've never ran a restaurant before. Money for you, money for you, money for you, money for you. You better come get a Beast Burger.
So that's the idea. You get it. He opens up the restaurant with a huge bang. This video is sitting on 161 million views 2 years ago in December of 2020. And that's how he announces to the world that the Mr. Beast Burger is available for mass consumption. And that was all well and good until this guy came along, Eddie Burback. And Eddie had way too much time on his hands, I believe, and left essentially what was a scathing review. He did this whole documentary over the entire environment of the deceptive world of ghost kitchens. And when he got to the Mr. Beast Burger specifically, this is the experience that he had entirely organically. He didn't go looking for trouble. He just bought a burger, it showed up at his house, and then he went to see what it was.
This is what the Impossible Beast style burger is supposed to look like. And this looks like if somebody drew a burger for me. How is this real? It looks like a Krabby Patty. Now, when I opened it up, it looked really boring.
This looks unbelievably boring.
But surprisingly, it also tasted really boring.
This tastes like a cafeteria burger.
So that's the experience that Eddie Burback, along with a lot of other people, had. They purchased this delicious, juicy Mr. Beast burger that looked like this that you see here, and then what they got was kind of whatever the person in the kitchen slapped together. There was no regulation, there was no quality control, there was nothing making sure that the people who were selling the burgers were actually doing what they were supposed to, up to and not including serving the burgers raw. And that's one of the things that was alleged in this lawsuit. So to give a whole recap, Mr. Beast partnered with Virtual Dining Concepts, and they came together and they created the Mr. Beast Burger. And then anyone with a kitchen, pretty much no matter what, was able to register to sell Mr. Beast Burgers on delivery apps such as Grubhub and so on. And then so you would order it from Grubhub, the delivery drivers would come to wherever that kitchen was, and literally anybody under the sun could register a kitchen and serve these burgers, and then it would go from the delivery person to you, just how it normally is. And that was all well and good, except for the part that it wasn't. And specifically, and most interestingly, this lawsuit has 85 pages of stuff saying all the bad reviews that the Mr. Beast burger was getting, not only talking about YouTube videos of people who did bad stuff, but people complaining about it in Reddit comments, getting some upvotes. That one got one upvote. That one also just got one upvote. But then it's talking about like different reviews on different Reddits and Yelp reviews also talking about all these bad things. And it seems like a lot. There's 85 pages of documents, but when you think about it, there's only one review per page. And with something as large as Mr. Beast and as big as Mr. Beast Burgers is, it's not surprising that they were able to find 85 individual instances of people complaining about it. In fact, if you go to the reviews of Mr. Beast Burger, you just type in Mr. Beast Burgers reviews into Google, you come to Yelp, where of course there's 1.5 stars, but Yelp is literally just specifically for complaining about stuff. You get this 5 reviews with 1 star, but that's specifically the one in some Lexington city. But then when you scroll down to the kind of the places where people are actually getting it, the DoorDash, you get 3.9 stars, which isn't great, but it's not terrible. Or here you've got TripAdvisor with it 4 stars out of 202 reviews, which is again not terrible. 3.3 stars on Trustpilot, not awful. 2.9 stars, like not great, don't get me wrong, but this is not the 1 star my reputation is dying around me because of this that the Mr. Beast lawsuit seems to allege. Now, a lot of the headlines surrounding this lawsuit are saying that it has to do with raw or inedible food, and that is true. But that's really only part of the story. And to get the entire story, we get to look at some legal documents, which I'm sure is everybody's favorite thing to do. And in these legal documents, 3 main issues are outlined for why Mr. Beast is suing virtual dining concepts. But first, we do have to talk about what the objective of the lawsuit is. What does Mr. Beast want out of this? And essentially, in an overarching terms, he wants the whole thing shut down, and he wants to take back, seize all of the rights that he gave them to use his brand, his image, and so on. So this is the very end of the lawsuit, prayer for relief. And that's just what the plaintiff, Mr. Beast, is praying that he will be relieved from having to do. And there are 8 specific points. For declaratory judgment by order of this court that Beast Investments has the immediate right to endorse to terminate the endorsement and letter agreements and no further obligations to engage in the Mr. Beast Burger business with defendants, which is basically just saying all rights and contracts are null and void, and I'm able to just stop doing Mr. Beast Burger. Next, for an accounting of all revenues and expenses of the Mr. Beast Burger business, we'll talk more about that later, for preliminary and permanent injunctive relief to provide defendants from engaging any further use of Mr. Beast's name, likeness, image, intellectual property rights, yada, 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 basically saying you have my rights, my image on your website, and I no longer, I think he's in this picture too, I no longer want you to have access to any of that. My rights for my image and my likeness come back to me, and you have to stop using them. Then he wants to awarding Beast Investments its share of the royalty payments and further damages in an amount to be determined in the trial. Basically, he's saying my section or my part of the Mr. Beast Burgers, I want that, and we'll talk about why that's important here in just a sec. Compensatory damages, an amount according to proof at the time of trial, basically saying this is how much my reputation was worth, this is how much it was damaged, therefore you owe me this amount of money. For an award of costs, just all the costs having to do with this entire venture, the award of reasonable attorney's fees, and the prejudgment and post-judgment interest for the maximum amount according allowed by law. And that's just saying the money that you should have given me, that I was owed from this virtual dining concept that you didn't give me, you have to give me that money, and also with interest, because once it's awarded to me, it's treated essentially as a loan. So I gave it to you for that amount of time, you owe it back to me with like 7.5% interest or whatever that number would be as decided by the court. But now we have to talk about specifically what Mr. Beast is suing for. So he wants the whole thing shut down, he wants to be paid out for his part of it, and he wants virtual dining concepts to have no access to his image after that. But why specifically does he want this? And there are 3 main reasons. The first one is alleged in part 4 on page 2. Because quality and fan/customer satisfaction are paramount above all else for Mr. Beast, he expected that his fans would be the recipients of excellent customer service and superior brand product. Unfortunately, however, because virtual dining concepts was more focused on rapidly expanding the business as a way to pitch the virtual restaurant model to other celebrities for its own benefit, it was not focused on controlling the quality of the Mr. Beast Burger customer experience and products. This is despite numerous objections by Mr. Beast to complaint about quality control fell on deaf ears. As a result, Mr. Beast Burger has been regarded as misleading, poor reflection of the Mr. Beast brand that provides low-quality products for its customers, yada, 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 yada. Basically saying the very first thing that happened is you did no quality control, and that damaged my reputation towards my customers. So The first thing is lack of quality control. Basically, that's the raw food, the inedible stuff, and they offer some specific examples here. The second thing that they're suing over is the fact that it turns out that Virtual Dining Concepts, according to Mr. Beast, just never paid him for anything. So it's been open since December 20th of 2020. Up until this point, no money has been paid out. In 2021, Mr. Beast's Burger had a full year in operations. Virtual Dining Concepts opened 1,000 locations. In 2022, Virtual Dining Concepts nearly doubled the number of Mr. Beast virtual locations, expanding to 1,700. I wouldn't say that's nearly double, but close enough. As stated earlier, to be clear, while Virtual Dining Concepts has made millions of dollars through this business, Beast Investments has not made a single dime. This is true even though Beast Investments is owed royalties and distributions under yada yada yada, and these are the legal agreements that they talked about when they first set it up. So the first thing is no quality control leading to bad foods. Second thing is you're just not paying me. I said I would give you my likeness for and all my advertisements and all this stuff to sell these burgers, that you would then take a percentage of the profits, and you're not paying me any of that. And the third part is really interesting, and I didn't even know that this was an issue until I read about it in this lawsuit. In addition, even though Mr. Beast retained ownership and strict oversight over the use of his intellectual property, Virtual Dining Concepts registered trademarks for Mr. Beast Burger in the European Union, Canada, Thailand, Singapore, Mexico, and Malaysia as part of its rapid global expansion without Beast Investments' authorization, consent, or even knowledge, which is an indisputable breach of the parties' agreements. Pursuant to the endorsement agreements, all rights in and to talent's attributes shall continue to be owned exclusively by the licensor and licensed to the company permanent to this agreement. So it looks like Virtual Dining Concepts may have taken all of the stuff that they had in America, and then they registered Mr. Beast Burger as a trademark that they owned essentially in the rest of the world so that they could continue to sell Mr. Beast burgers without Mr. Beast's consent or even knowledge. So they essentially stole his image, if this is true, to expand to the rest of the world, thereby making that their image so that they can make more of the money, which is such an incredibly bold move to try and make. Assuming that this is all correct, but it would be weird to lie about this part. But that's, of course, not the end of it. As with any lawsuit or any conflict at all, there are two sides, and Virtual Dining Concepts, for their side, made some very interesting allegations about Mr. Beast. The complaint is riddled with false statements and inaccuracies and is a thinly veiled attempt to distract from Mr. Donaldson and Beast Investments' breaches of the agreement between the parties, including Mr. Donaldson's false, disparaging statements regarding the Mr. Beast Burger and VDC. To the detriment of approximately 10 million happy Mr. Beast Burger customers and hundreds of restaurants and their thousands of employees who make Mr. Beast Burger's products daily, Mr. Donaldson recently attempted to negotiate a new deal to serve his best monetary interests. When VDC refused to accede to his bullying tactics to give up more of the company to him, he filed this ill-advised and meritless lawsuit seeking to undermine the Mr. Beast Burger brand and terminate his existing contractual obligations without cause. That is an absolutely wild thing to allege. Basically, what Virtual Dining Concepts is saying is that Mr. Beast is only filing this lawsuit because he went back to Virtual Dining Concepts and said, I actually want more money or a larger share of the company, or I want to be a majority owner in this venture going forward. And they said, no, we're not going to succumb to your bullying tactics. And now he's suing to try and sever it. And in that severance is essentially causing irreparable damage to Virtual Dining Concepts brand, which continues here. The alleged basis for Mr. Donaldson's complaint is that his reputation has been material and irreparably tarnished by the Mr. Beast Burger brand. In reality, Mr. Donaldson's notoriety has grown exponentially over the life of the Mr. Beast Burger brand, in part because of the Mr. Beast Burger itself. So basically, where Mr. Beast says that, oh, you've damaged my reputation by this bad food quality and so on and all this other issues, Virtual Dining Concepts is saying that actually your reputation hasn't been damaged. In fact, your reputation is better than ever, specifically because Mr. Beast Burger has been such a huge success that everyone has been hearing about. And this is one of the main difficulties with these kinds of lawsuits, is you have to prove something that isn't tangible. If I sign a contract with you for $1,000, if I give you a deliverable of some kind, like a painting, and then I don't give you the painting, Then there's a physical thing that happened. You didn't get the painting, but I took your $1,000. You sue me. You show there was no painting, but there was a payment of $1,000. That's very easy to work on because there's physical things. But when you come to kind of virtual or abstract concepts like reputation, it's much harder to measure. How do you measure whether Mr. Beast's reputation has gotten better or worse because of Mr. Beast Burger? Is it better because lots of people have covered it and talked about how amazing it is that a creator brand got so huge? Or is it worse because lots of people have talked about how terrible of a concept it is and how terrible it is that Mr. Beast's name is associated with something with essentially no quality control? And this is something a judge is going to have to make a call on. He's going to have to look at both parties and the issues that are coming up and then try and make a judgment about something as abstract as reputation, which has no physical presence. So it's so difficult to be able to talk about this. But to zoom out a little and give some of my personal thoughts on it, I think this sounded like a really good idea. During the pandemic, lots of restaurants were shutting down because nobody was showing up or they weren't allowed to operate anymore. But past that, this kind of wasn't that great of an idea. And that's essentially because delivery apps are just bad for everyone. The average restaurant operates on a margin of about 7%, which means for every $100 they spend, on average, they only make about $7, which is a very tiny amount of money to be making. So with margins that small, when you add another company like a delivery app, Grubhub, Uber Eats, what have you, that also has to make money and be profitable, then you start to get the money being spread too thin. There's a restaurant that's already barely scraping by, and then there's a customer, and that works out just fine. Customer gives restaurant money, restaurant continues to barely scrape by. But then you add a third party in the form of delivery apps, and now there's this other company. So now the restaurant is losing money because of the delivery fees of the delivery app, and then the delivery app company is also losing billions of dollars passing that on to the customer because now there's an extra mouth to feed, so to speak. Delivery apps are really just terrible for everyone. So that's what's happening with Mr. Beast Burger, and virtual dining concepts. Super curious for your thoughts down in the comments. Which side are you on? Why? Let me know. And don't forget to subscribe on your way out.